Welcome to the Study Abroad for EALCS majors, minors, and East Asian language students. My name is Megan Pankratz, and I am one of the regional advisors in the UCSB EAP office. Joining me today is the undergraduate advisor from the East Asian Languages and Cultural Studies Department. Would you like to say a quick hello?
Hi, everybody. I'm Allison, for those of you who haven't emailed me or contacted me already, and I'm always happy to answer your questions and provide information. And Megan, thanks for putting this presentation together today.
No problem. Also joining me today is a Korea returnee. Would you like to give a brief introduction?
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Pena. I'm currently a fifth year at UCSB. I major in linguistics and I minor in TESOL. I studied abroad at Yonsei University in South Korea for the year 2019-2020.
Excellent. And we'll be hearing from both of them later in the presentation. So the focus of today's meeting is to relay specific advice for studying abroad as an ELCS major or for students interested in continuing their East Asian language study abroad. We plan to cover the why you should study abroad, where you might consider going, how you can figure this all out, and where to find the resources you need. And we'll be hearing from Zara later on about her personal experiences in Korea. So the why you should study abroad. Well, by taking major classes abroad or East Asian language courses abroad, you can help ensure that you'll graduate on time or fulfill language requirements that you might have. But doing so all the while having the adventure of a lifetime. You can also gain marketable skills as well. We assume that you chose your major, minor, or language classes because they interest you. So why not pursue that interest in another setting that will offer you a new perspective? You may even find courses that could count towards your major, minor, or even language classes that aren't offered at UCSB. So we have a couple Asian studies majors featured on this slide and also a Chinese minor. So in addition to Japanese language courses, Asian studies major Lene in the top left photo took classes in Japanese history, politics, and religion during her year in Japan. In addition to coursework, you can do an internship or research related to your major or linguistics interests abroad. So Li Shen in the lower left picture spent a year in Beijing, China, and was able to participate in 2 separate internships. These had a major impact on her career path and jobs prospects after graduation. You can build connections and grow your social and professional network while abroad. And as I mentioned, those marketable skills earlier. So you're going to all graduate from UCSB, but you'll be able to distinguish yourself from your peers when you look for that first job or apply to graduate school by your study abroad experience. So Zara, could you share why you think students should study abroad in Asia?
I think it's similar to the various reasons that was in the video earlier and some reasons that you pointed out. I think it's a great way to expose yourself to a new culture and to get a chance to network if you're interested in working abroad. And if you're learning an Asian language, it's a good way to challenge yourself and immerse yourself into the language.
Definitely. And all of the students featured on this slide participated in year-long programs. And I know, Zara, you applied to a year-long program yourself. What would you say to students to maybe encourage them to consider studying abroad for an entire year?
Well, one of the reasons I chose to study abroad for a year because I wanted to still have focus on my academics, but also have enough time to travel and have fun. So I really wanted to extend my stay so I can experience all of that and not have to worry about trying to force everything in one semester.
Yeah, that's a great point. If you do decide to study abroad for an entire year, you'll definitely have more time to explore your host country, neighboring countries, and time for travel. A lot of our students who spend, only one semester, they usually find after that's one semester, that's just when they've kind of adjusted and got used to things and, can navigate using the public transportation. And then it's time for them to leave. So a lot of the students who stay for an additional semester find that time to be really rewarding, and they're able to really feel like they live in that place and not just a tourist. And are accustomed to the culture and academic culture as well, know the course registration system and things like that. So UCSB is is the top sending UC students, or UC campus for sending students on year-long programs, and within the top 5 in the nation previous surveys. So we're really proud of that, and we hope to maintain that reputation. So now let's talk about where you could go. So you do have a lot of choices. UCAP offers over 100 programs in 40 plus countries. To search for programs in Asia, you should visit the UCAP website. This is where you will find all of the study abroad programs and their details. And to sort through your options, I recommend that you use the Find a Program search function circled here. And by identifying the region and country or countries, the list of possible programs will be narrowed down. And you can see here that there are 39 UCAP programs across Asia, including our programs in South and Southeast Asia. So UCAP offers programs in China, Hong Kong, India, Japan, Korea, Singapore, Taiwan, and Thailand. You can further narrow down your choices by disciplines and subject areas. So Asian studies is shown here as an example. You can also search by language of instruction, desired term, and more. So we really encourage you to play around with this search tool and explore your possibilities. Here are a few featured programs where you can study Chinese or Korean. So we have the Summer Chinese in Taipei program in Taiwan at National Taiwan University. Please note that our programs in Taiwan use traditional characters, whereas in China they use simplified characters. The Chinese in Beijing program in China is offered during the summer or fall term. And Chinese language study is also offered in the immersion programs at our partner universities in China and Taiwan, as well as in Hong Kong and Singapore. Students have the option to enroll in Korean language classes at Yonsei University. Our other partner in Korea, our new partner, Seoul National University, does not offer Korean language classes for UCAP students. So if that's something you want to experience abroad or improve upon your Korean language, I hope you'll consider Yonsei University. Next are a few featured programs where you can study Japanese. Please note that the summer programs in Osaka and Tokyo have a limited number of spaces, but the spring program in Kyoto does not. Other programs in Asia offer courses related to the region and country-specific courses. North Korea-related courses are really popular with UC students at Yonsei University. Many past students have taken advantage of the vast Southeast Asian studies courses at the National University of Singapore, not to mention the plethora of other Asian languages not offered at UCSB, such as Bahasa Indonesian, Malay, Tamil, and Vietnamese. Students enjoy their experience taking Thai studies, including Thai language in Thailand. So for those of you interested in this region, there are a lot of opportunities to expand your knowledge about the countries, cultures, and languages of Asia. So in addition to taking courses in your major, I also highly recommend that you consider doing an internship or conducting research abroad if your program allows. Internships are a great way to gain professional experience and get to know your host community on a deeper level. Research experience looks great on grad school applications. We have study abroad programs that integrate internships and research for academic credit, or most immersion programs will allow you to arrange your own. Japanese minor and Freeman internship scholar Marin had 2 internships during her year in Tokyo. So she's featured on the slide there with children she worked with. She did have to secure her own internship, but ended up finding an organization or organizations that previous UC students had interned with. There are, as far as research goes, quite a few STEM research program offerings in Asia, but our research in Hong Kong and Taipei summer programs also offer research opportunities outside of the STEM field. So if you wanted to do some research in the social sciences or something like that, those could be possibilities for you to consider. Like the internship opportunities, there are a lot of programs where you can also pursue research and independent study projects. A lot of immersion programs will also offer that if that was something of interest. So now let's take a look at the additional resources we have for you. So now you'll see we're on the UCSB EAP website. So that's different from the UC EAP website, which had all the program information. So this website is where you'll find all of the campus-specific information. By going to the Academics tab at the top, you'll find a drop-down menu, which will take you to the advising pages for all of the majors on campus. So here is the major advising page for ELCS majors, and this is where you'll find specific advice from your department. On this page, you'll also find videos of UCSB students talking about their study abroad experiences in Asia. And we have even more videos on our UCSB EAP YouTube channel, so I encourage you to check that out in your free time. Another excellent source of information about courses that have been taken for major credit by UCSB students is our UCSB EAP Gaucho Credit Abroad database. So this is also found on the UCSB EAP website under Academics. This database shows the type of credit UCSB students have received for the UCAP courses they've taken, and you can search by major, minor, GE, or elective credit. So when looking on Gaucho Credit Abroad for courses taken for Asian Studies, Chinese, and Japanese major credit, you'll find almost 200 course results. So this can be really helpful if you're wondering what programs might offer courses in your major or what specific classes might count towards your major. Just keep in mind, this is a historic database of what has been done. It doesn't tell you exactly what will be offered when you might be going. And it's not an exhaustive list. You don't have to take only the classes listed here. You'll also notice it has a column for the year last taken. So you'll want to see, if there's classes from quite a few years ago. You want to consult your major department advisor to see if they think that class would still likely to count towards major minor credit. Yet another resource for you is the UC EAP course catalog. So the Gaucho Credit Abroad tells you what UCSB students have taken and what type of credit they received at UCSB. A broader resource is this UCAP course catalog. This contains courses taken by all UC students across all UC campuses on UCEAP, not just Gauchos. It also provides some different information, and this can be found under the student resources on the menu of the UCAP website. So looking at the UCAP course catalog for Asian Studies as an example, you'll find over 300 courses listed, and you can get short descriptions of each of these courses through the hyperlinks. But just like Gaucho Credit Abroad, this database simply reflects what has been done, not necessarily what you can do. New UCAP programs are added every year, and there'll be no historic data for any of them. So where you can go to find the most accurate information will be the host universities' websites and course catalogs. And you can find those by going to the UCAP website, finding the program page for your program, and clicking on the Academics tab. So this is going to, in addition to having links to the host university course catalogs and websites, this will also show you the number of courses and credits you'll be expected to take on the program. So this is an example from the National University of Singapore. So you can see they have a syllabus search, they have a listing of the faculties and departments, and more. So you can see what's being currently offered. So just like UCSB, they may not be listing what's offered for the next academic year just yet, but you can, to get a general idea, you can see what they're offering this year to prepare. So with all of that said, let's hear directly from the East Asian Language and Cultural Studies Advisor, Allison.
Hi. I think that one of the points, I get a lot of questions about studying abroad, and I want to say that primarily what students are looking at is studying language or studying content courses. And so as you may have seen, all the units count on your UCSB transcripts. But in order for the units to count for the major or for the minor, after the students have studied abroad and the work that they've done is on their transcript, it's graded, we can see how many units it counted for, then the students contact me and we petition for those units to count for the major or minor. So for example, if it's language courses, and really all of the UCSB, all of the education abroad credits should be upper division. So for the language credits, I would contact a language instructor and they'll approve it. And then I'll petition it and it'll show up as counting on your major. It'll show up on your major progress check. And then for content courses, same thing. Once it's graded, then I can send it to our undergraduate faculty advisor. We can petition those units to count. One thing to keep in mind is that units in study abroad are different. There are sometimes 1.5 units, sometimes 12 units, sometimes 7. So you really need to keep that in mind because the numbers can be off a little bit. And students have to earn the actual unit. So for example, if it's 40 units of upper division units, and because of education abroad units, it's 39.5, then the student would need to take an extra course because it has to be a minimum of 40. And the other thing that I think is the biggest confusion for students, it's really important to look at courses. You know, Megan just showed you a lot of information. It's important to take courses that are East Asian content. And sometimes students think that they're taking a course that has to replace one of our courses, and that's not the case. They just need to take courses that are academic. One time a student did a pottery class. Well, that one can't count because it has to be an academic course. But when students take academic courses with East Asian content, then we can petition for those to count for the major. So it doesn't have to be that it replaces a course that's listed on our curriculum. And I think that's the main thing that students sometimes are confused about. But of course, anytime you have questions, send me an email. I'm always happy to answer the questions. And then the one thing that you can see here, there's the website, and under academics, we offer placement tests every quarter. So if a student studies language abroad, when they come back, they'll take they'll take the placement test to see what is the next course that they'll go into. And that also helps, for example, if they did 3rd year Chinese abroad and they come back and they test into 4th year, it's going to be really easy to petition those courses and have them count for 3rd year Chinese on their transcripts.
And those exams happen every quarter, right?
Correct. They happen every quarter for Chinese and Japanese. And during the pandemic, they've been online. They've kind of been at the end of the quarter preparing for the next quarter. But once we're back on campus, those tests usually happen at the start of the quarter.
Great. And Allison alluded to the petition process when you do come back. So when you go abroad, it's really important to keep all of your work, syllabi, reading lists, graded assignments, papers, exams for that petition process. So definitely remember that when you go abroad.
Yes, because you want to have notes and information about the course that'll make it easier for our professors to evaluate them and approve them to count.
All right. So now let's hear from Korea returning Zara. So while you were abroad, you studied Korean language, right? Can you tell us what that was like?
Yes, I did study Korean while I was at Korea. But I think for when I applied for the program, I think it was required for everyone to take a Korean language class, but there were 2 options, or maybe 3, because you could test out of it if you qualified. But they had an intensive course and then a regular Korean language course. I chose the intensive Korean language course because I really wanted to challenge myself, because I was already taking Korean classes at UCSB. And so I thought, since I'm going to Korea, I might as well challenge myself a little bit more so that I can hopefully improve in my language skills. But I thought it was a little bit harder than I thought it would be, especially since I actually had to make use of the language in my daily life there. So that took a lot of getting used to, because I really had to put myself out there to actually use the language, because sometimes I have a fear of like speaking in Korean. So that was something I had to get used to. But aside from that, I did also take courses. I took one course intended for my major and one for my minor. Since I major in linguistics, I found a class that was on applied linguistics, and for my minor is TESOL, teaching English to speakers of other languages. I actually found a course related to teaching English.
And one note, so yes, as Zara mentioned, it used to be a requirement for students participating in the Yonsei University program to enroll in a language course, but that is now optional. Could you share, did you face, even though you had some previous Korean language background, did you face a language barrier? And you talked about kind of getting outside of your comfort zone, practicing, but do you have any other tips to maybe navigate a language barrier?
I think make friends with the local students. That helped a lot, because if I had to maybe go out at a restaurant and a local there would start speaking to me in full Korean, and I just have basic Korean language skills, so I'm not able to engage in full conversation with them. So if I had a local student there helping me, or if I had a friend who spoke Korean, it would be helpful to get around that.
Let's see, could you tell us a little bit about the photos on the slide here?
Yeah, so I think most of the pictures are when I was traveling around to Korea with my friends, mostly around Seoul. The first picture on the left side is actually a picture from Trick-Eye Museum in Korea. I think it's one of the cities close to Yonsei, and yeah, I went to one of the museums, and then the one next to it below, I went to one of the palaces with my friends, and there are stores around palaces where you can actually rent some traditional Korean clothes. They're called hanbok. And so my friends and I rented a couple, and we wore them and walked around the palace. And the one on the right is a picture that I took while we were shopping around. And the one at the top was actually at the end of the fall semester, because I was staying for the year and most of my friends were staying just for the semester. So we decided to take pictures together in front of the school.
Fun. I forgot to mention earlier, so kind of talking about language and potential language barriers. Many of the programs in Asia, some of them will offer tutors or language buddies. So if your program offers that, I would encourage you to take advantage of that opportunity. We also have on-site support staff at all of our locations, including a study center in Seoul. Zara, could you tell us a little bit about the Yonsei Study Center and maybe some of the activities or excursions they planned for you all?
The only thing I could remember from my experience was the UCAP staff on site. They were just really nice and really helpful, and they really liked it when students just came by to visit. But they planned field trips for us, and I'm not sure if I remember all of them, but aside from the field trips, they also had events on campus for students. Like there was 1 week where there's a holiday in Korea. It's called Chuseok. It's basically like Thanksgiving for them, and the staff actually prepared some snacks and activities for us that we kind of have a little bit of a Chuseok experience, but not like the full experience. But it was nice of them to do that. And we had field trips. I think I only went to 2 of them. One at the beginning of the semester and one in the middle. In the beginning, it was a 2-day trip, I believe. We went. We explored a cave, and we went farther up north of Korea, and they took us to this old train station, and we rode these old trains.
Yeah, so the on-site support staff at the location are there to help you, with academics. So if you're struggling or, have a question about course registration, or maybe you're having issues with your roommate, they have health and safety protocols in place in case of natural disasters or other emergencies. But they also often will plan cultural activities or field trips and excursions, like Zara mentioned, for you to really get to know, again, your host city or host country and host culture. So definitely I encourage you to take advantage of those if they're a part of your program. It might not be a UCAP study center per se. It could be the International Relations Office at your host university, but definitely keep an eye out for those opportunities. So Zara, how would you say your study abroad experience has impacted you and perhaps your future plans?
Before studying abroad, I kind of already had an idea. I kind of already wanted to work abroad. So prior to applying, I had the intention of going to Korea to kind of explore and figure out what kind of work I can do there. And so since I minor in TESOL, one of my options was to maybe teach English abroad. And I actually took a career development course at Yonsei as well. And that really helped me plan and helped me to network with the local students and really plan out how I'm going to go about having the opportunity to teach abroad after graduation.
Yeah, and I would say that's a really popular option for our students after they go abroad. So a lot of them will return abroad or specifically to their host country. So it can be a great way to get a taste of what it's like living in that country and, make connections and network like Zara did. Let's see, lastly, what advice would you give to students considering study abroad in Asia?
I'd say really put yourself out there and really familiarize yourself with the resources that you have. If you can join the clubs at school, join them so that you can engage with more of the local students, and always be open to exploring places you never really thought you wanted to explore. So if you have plans prior to studying abroad, always be open to the idea of doing things that weren't in your plan.
Great advice. And you mentioned student clubs. Were you involved in any while at Yonsei?
I joined a mentors class. So the local Yonsei students would be our mentors, and they would kind of like take us out and give us an experience that the local students have. And sometimes it would be just you and your mentor, and sometimes it would be the whole club. They had different kinds of activities for that to get to know everyone.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I will say across Asia, there's really active student life on Host University campus. So definitely get involved. As Sarah mentioned earlier, one of the best ways to improve your language is going to be making friends with locals. So definitely do so. We'll have some time for some Q&A if you have any questions for Zara at the end of the presentation. So thank you. Let's see, so I threw a lot of information at you. You may feel a little overwhelmed at this point. You know, there are multiple websites and databases, but you know, the reality is that UCAP offers a wide range of programs, you know, different types, different terms, countries, languages, and systems. And these programs are for all UC students across all campuses, and new ones do get added every year. So you do have a lot of choices. And unfortunately, it's not as simple as, you know, oh, you're an Asian studies major, go to this university, take these classes, and this is how they will count for your major. And we recognize that. So the good news is that we're here and available to help. So our UCSB EAP office is open with staff and student advisors ready to help you on your study abroad journey. So if you visit our Contact Us page on our UCSB EAP website, you can meet with our peer advisors daily during our business hours via Zoom, or you can set up appointments with regional advisors like myself during our drop-in hours. So we do hope you take advantage of those and we get to see you soon. Some final words of wisdom, you know, do start planning now. By planning as early as possible, you'll have the most options open to you, and you'll be able to pick the program that really best meets your needs. We encourage you to attend more UCSB EAP related events, which you can find on our news and events page on our website. Consult your advisors. So start talking with your academic departments, start talking with your college advisors, start meeting with regional advisors in the EAP office. Ultimately, don't miss out. You know, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity as an undergraduate to really study and live in another country. So this concludes our presentation.